So where's that Batman Arkham Marathon video you promised us earlier, mate? I hear you all asking. Well, I have been meaning to look at this series for quite some time, and I am currently working on collaborating with another YouTuber to help me get this review kickstarted, but I figured because I've been away for a while, I should probably get you guys up to speed on what's been going on and why I haven't uploaded in a month. Because it's only been a month since I recently uploaded a video. So this past month I've been working heavily on my performances at the school I go to for my advanced diploma in performing. Yeah, in case you guys didn't already know, I'm studying to become a voice actor. It's why you hear me do those god-awful voice impressions of Sonic characters in my comic reviews, but that's besides the point. On top of that, and juggling my day job that takes up a majority of my weekdays, I honestly just have had no time to really buckle down and work on these videos that I wanted to make so badly. And I know, it sounds really lame hearing that come from a YouTuber that you really respect and hearing them say, I haven't had the time to work on these videos for a month, or I'm busy, or things have been happening in my life, but you know, life happens, man. You know, I've got fees to pay, I've got a job that I gotta go to keep myself financially stable, to keep me happy, to keep me busy, and the only reason that I only really work on these videos for you guys is always because it's a hobby. You know, I don't really get paid for this sort of thing, and I can't really pin my hopes on making this my dream job or anything. It's just something that I make for you guys, because if not for you guys that keep this channel growing, then what for, right? I mean, it's really because of you guys that I make these videos in the first place, and I know that I can be a little behind and I don't keep my promises and I don't keep to a schedule, but shit happens and you just gotta kind of work with it, you know. But we better not really talk about that, because it's for this video in particular that it's thanks to you guys that I'm talking about this video game at all.
I've noticed some, or one of you rather, commenting on my Castlevania videos about Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, a crowd-funded indie-developed game made by Koji Igarashi, a Japanese developer who created the crowd-favorite title Castlevania Symphony of the Night, a game that practically set the stage for Metroidvania-styled gameplay. Now, I may not have reviewed Symphony of the Night on this channel, but I have a lot of good memories with this game, and when I heard about the announcement for Bloodstained, my first initial reaction was, oh, sweet, an indie title Metroidvania game in an aesthetic style to Castlevania. This looks cool, and yeah, recent gameplay footage I saw of it looks really good. Presentation can be a little hilarious sometimes, but that's what quality assurance is for after all. But it isn't this title that Mr. Xiaoyan255 was talking about. Sorry if I botched your name, I can't pronounce shit to save my life. No, it's this Bloodstained that we're looking at, Curse of the Moon, an 8-bit Castlevania-inspired game released only just last month, which serves as a prequel to the events of Ritual of the Night.
So, I figured while we wait for the Batman Arkham Marathon to kickstart, why don't we take a look at the spiritual successor to the Castlevania series by taking a look at Bloodstained, Curse of the Moon, and see if it holds as its own game, but also as a spiritual successor to the cult classic vampire killing series.
Well, if you didn't buy the fact that this game is a Castlevania spiritual successor, don't worry, the title screen has no trouble trying to make it painfully obvious. Not to say I don't like it, mind you, but this is clearly trying hard to pay tribute with the font, the moon-like capital C that the original series had, and the bloody title. Lords of Shadow didn't have that, and it was supervised by Kojima. So when the game begins, you can decide right off the bat what kind of difficulty you want to experience the game. If you're an old school Castlevania fan and you want that old school testicle kicking 8-bit difficulty, you go for the veteran difficulty. This plays similarly to the originals, with the knockback, the limited amount of lives, and the harder enemies. But if you're not entirely comfortable about all of that and just want to breeze through the game at a comfortable but not an easy pace, you go for casual. I really like this addition to the difficulty as a means of getting younger and unexperienced players into this type of gameplay. Sure, it takes away the knockback and it gives you unlimited lives, but I'd rather anyone be able to pick up this game and understand the basics of it with some level amount of hand-holding, rather than be alienated by its advertised ridiculous amounts of difficulty with Dark Souls and Breath of the Wild, or by the extreme amount of hand-holding that Sonic Lost World and Super Mario Galaxy did. I'll admit, I was a bit hesitant to consider giving casual a go because I am a die-hard fan for that kind of risk versus reward aspect that original Castlevania games gave you, where you used your skills, knowledge, and use of weaponry and timing as a means to traverse a dangerous castle. And it created a tense experience for the player through both its difficulty, but also its limited lives, as well as its general aesthetic look and musical tone that gave off that creepy vibe. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. The story begins with this crawling text that describes this demon hunter by the name of Zangetsu, who has been cursed by demons thanks to the moon, and because he has such an agenda with the very beings that make his life practically a living hell, he sets out toward the nearest demon-infested castle with the intent to slay anything that stands in his way. This guy's last name may as well be Belmont. Or Renard, I guess, if you've played Rondo of Blood and Symphony of the Night, because this plot is near identical to the original story of the first Castlevania, or any Castlevania to be exact. Now, it's true that this series is tackling a new type of power, being alchemy and such, but if you replace the demons with zombies, mummies, Medusa heads, and oh fuck me, Scissor Man! Like, I realize this is a new series, but man is it hard not to draw these comparisons in terms of story and setting. But hey, basic plot or not, the game delivers in its gameplay at least. Zangetsu controls pretty much like a Belmont, but he doesn't strut like a Belmont. He can't even do the moonwalk on stairs like a Belmont. Now that's just sad. His weapon of choice is his katana, which makes good use of quickly and efficiently cleaving enemies in two. And like the vampire killers of old, he can also obtain sub-weapons as a means of taking out enemies too far away, or need to be taken care of at a certain angle. His mobility is pretty good, but keep in mind you are controlling a Castlevania-like character, and that means dealing with a character who can't influence his jumps. See, once that fucker starts flying, he's only moving one direction until he lands, or until he obtains an ability that allows him to double jump, but before I talk about that, I want to talk about the additional playable characters you'll meet on your journey. Like Dracula's Curse, this one has characters speak through text boxes, but that's only when you defeat the first 3 bosses of this game where you meet 3 people who are on the verge of dying. From here you have one of 3 choices. You can choose to recruit them on your journey as a means of obtaining a new playable character, like Dracula's Curse, but unlike Dracula's Curse where you could only bring one companion with you at a time until the end of the game, you can bring all 3 of them with you, and you can switch between them at any time. With Miriam, the Belmont class of the team, she carries with her a whip and the sliding ability that Maria uses in Rondo of Blood, and like Zangetsu and the Belmont clan, her sub-weapons are used in a similar fashion, though Miriam uses noticeably harder hitting and more ranged type of sub-weapons, which makes her for a bit of an effective fighter, but it ultimately cuts her weapon points down quite a bit. Alfred is the Cypher Belnardus of the group. His main attacks aren't worth shit, but his magic more than makes up for it. With a fire shield, a frost attack, which I personally overuse whenever a swarm of enemies start to gang up on me, but then there's magic like this, which creates a double for him as a means of extending his range of attack, but I don't really find a use for this thing. Maybe I'm not using it right, maybe I'm over-reliant on the fire shield as means of overcoming these archers and axe knights, so maybe I just need some time to figure it out a little bit more. Gebel, or Jebel, I don't know how this character is pronounced, is the Alucard of the group, and like Alucard of Dracula's Curse, I barely use this guy, except maybe to transform into his bat form to find secrets, or to skip segments of a level that I just couldn't be asked to get through. It's cheating, sure, but it's an option. At least his attacks are really good against bosses, so I can't really fault him for that. They at least have good range, and the attack radius can actually expand to hit enemies in the air, so I will give him that at least. With these companions by your side, it's a good idea to keep track of your health and weapon points, and try to prioritize each character's specific item and sub-weapon as a means of creating an approach to a situation that is otherwise perilous of dangers. Using Alfred's fire shield in addition to Zangetsu's quick attacks, for example, makes for a fluid platforming experience when trying to dodge and avoid enemy attacks. Or switching between Miriam for her dagger attacks while she's low on health, and then switching over to Jebel to deliver ranged attacks with a flying enemy, allow me to prioritize keeping a near-dead companion alive, using her effective sub-weapons with a more healthier companion with equally effective attacks when in close range with an enemy, make dealing with bosses both rewarding and challenging in equal terms. Though if you die using any one of these characters, however, you don't immediately lose a life. If you lose a companion, they just stay dead until you either complete that level's boss, or when you lose all of your companions and restart at the nearest checkpoint. Though this does mean that facing against bosses sends you back to the last checkpoint you were at, and if you just got finished dealing with a barrage of enemies and an environmental hazard you're not fond of, this is more than likely going to aggravate you to some degree. Though it's not overly difficult, Bloodstained does assume you have some experience with previous Castlevania titles to know what kind of game it prepares you for. It pays a lot of tribute to the original games with its level design, enemy varieties, its aesthetic look, its difficulty, and I couldn't help but actually play Castlevania music with a pair of headphones in sections of a game that looked similar to other areas in the original series. The Knight and the Medusa heads, the stairs that led to the final boss, that train section that kind of mirrored Rondo of Blood's opening, it's surprisingly fit. The original music for this game is just as toe-tappingly enjoyable as well, and I actually heard that the original composer of Castlevania came in to work on this project, so that's really cool. Before I forget anything though, going back to the companion system, when you defeat bosses you can either choose to recruit them or leave them, like I said earlier. But if you want to be an asshole and relieve these guys of their demon-infested souls, you can just straight up kill them and obtain a new ability. This in itself becomes a Zangetsu-only adventure, but the abilities you obtain, I think, are a nice reward. If, you want to be an asshole. From Miriam, you can obtain the advanced aerial attack, which doubles damage, yet for some reason doesn't affect his attacks on the ground. That's a little strange. From Alfred, you can obtain this double jump, where you can actually take advantage of influencing Zangetsu's jump if you simply switch the direction he's facing as you do a second jump. From Jebel, you obtain this sprint which you can abuse the fuck out of just by tapping it rapidly, and it makes for a good way to avoid enemies chasing you, and this gameplay style reminds me a lot of Richter's moveset from Rondo of Blood. Still, I'm more of a fan for the buddy-buddy system, because I find it more overly reliant if you're in need of a special ability that others can provide, and as a means to alleviate the difficulty of keeping one character alive by simply switching to another one. Killing your companions or just losing them also prevents you from reaching these hard-to-reach upgrades that are scattered across stages, and some of them you can obtain with Zangetsu, but it's a pain in the butt knowing that you have to leave something as helpful as this because you simply don't have the right companion, or because your vengeance for demon slaying is too much for your ego to handle. Besides that, your companions can also open up alternative pathways through the use of their abilities, whether it be through sliding, transforming into a bat, or using the fire shield to get past rapid fire archers. It creates a replayability to go back and try out stages that you haven't fully explored, and seek new challenges or new treasures. I haven't found everything nor explored everywhere yet, so I love how this game is still open for me to go back and check out what's yet to be unearthed once I finish this review. I love games that can do that with a simple gameplay style, yet do it with so much variety. The bosses are perhaps my favorite part of this entire package, honestly, but for anyone who's seen my Castlevania reviews probably knows that I'm a sucker for these type of bosses that rely on your quick thinking and reflexes. Some of them even have last-ditch effort attacks to finish you off, which, yeah, most of them don't even do that, so I'm surprised I survived most of these attacks. That last boss especially got me head-scratching for quite a while, but it was so worth it to finally figure out the correct, or rather effective strategy to take that bitch out and kablam! Fuck you, Mistress of the Night! At $10 on Steam, this is a pretty good steal for a game that pays homage to the original classic Castlevania, yet still maintains its own property through its own original ideas and concepts. I say that this game is well worth your time and effort, should you wish to sink a couple of hours per campaign to unlock Nightmare Mode and Ultimate Mode, the latter of which I still have yet to try, but you can bet I'll be on it and done with it by the time Ritual of the Night is released. The presentation is particularly really good. I love how it doesn't hinder itself to original Castlevania with its color palette. Everything is color-coded and designed perfectly so that characters don't blend with the background, and And I love how the lamps with sub-weapons are colored purple to help indicate what has a sub-weapon and what has these bags and bottles that you use as weapon points. If you're a newcomer to this, I recommend trying casual mode out first and try to get used to the way things work. And then try the campaign out on veteran mode if you want to restrict your mobility and have your balls checked for post-dick kicking gameplay at the doctors.
And there you go, that's my thoughts on Bloodstained, Curse of the Moon. Not a long video, but I didn't have a lot to say of it, really. I just think it's a really good Castlevania clone done right, and honestly, what more could you ask for? We haven't had a traditional Castlevania game in a really long time, unless you want to count Laws of Shadow. I don't really count that, honestly. I see that more as a God of War kind of clone, but that's besides the point. When we come back, I'm hoping to get that Batman Arkham Marathon started right away, in addition to some Sonic comic reviews that I got to get working on. So, yeah, until next time, take care of yourself, have a non-cursing good evening, and as always, stay awesome, lovely viewers. I'll see you all next time.